What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/ProRevenge. This story's called Don't Fire the Guy Who Holds the Patents. This is not my story. I was present for it, sure, but I did not see all of it personally. Rather, this is my father's story. So, some context. My father had a degree in mechanical engineering, either a master's or a doctorate. It had taken him years to get, and he was very proud of that. Thanks to his training, he had found his way working for many well-known companies, working primarily with the procedures used to make various things. Over time, he'd privately began working on an idea that would revolutionize how school and gym lockers worked. See, my father realized that there was a problem with those type of metal lockers. Namely, it was very easy for a person to break into them. What's more, as the lockers were designed, there were multiple exposed moving parts, which meant that if a student put too many books in one, or really anything got against the door, the locker would be jammed shut, making it near on impossible to open. So for several years, my dad toyed with a number of ideas before hitting on a new design which would solve all of these problems. The inner workings of the locker's locking mechanism would be contained within the door in such a way that 1. It would be impossible for someone to shim or break into, 2. The entire mechanism would be enclosed, and 3. It was relatively maintenance-free. Now, at this point, my father was the vice president of manufacturing, and apparently there wasn't a clause in his contract that said if he designed anything while working for the company, then he had to turn that over to them for profit. Dad still approached the company, offering them the design, but they weren't interested. Dad sat on the design for a while before eventually just taking out several patents on them, and then forgetting about them. About 6 months after his first attempt at getting the company interested, the parent company's owner and chairman of the board passed away, and the board opted to sell off some of the holdings. The company my dad worked for was part of that. The new owners were young guys who seemed to think they knew everything, as young business owners always seem to think, and they set about changing 99% of the way things were being done. At some point, they stumbled across the plans my father had designed. Now, that's where things turned curious. They really wanted to start producing this new design, but as they didn't have all the plans and processes laid out for them, they had to turn to my father for answers. Rather than asking him how to do it or licensing the patents, as any reputable company would have done, they offered him to turn over all his work or else they would fire him. Dad stood his ground and refused. The new owners and my dad went back and forth, arguing over details for several weeks, before finally, the new owners fired my dad for insubordination. So, on to the revenge. There may be more to this, but I'm not entirely sure if it is just pro-revenge. It could border on nuclear based on what happened some years later, though I'm not certain that what later happened had anything to do with my father's actions. So after cleaning out his office and packing things in the trunk of his car, my dad headed home and made a few phone calls. He must have gone through 8 or 9 different calls before he got in touch with someone who was interested in what he had to say. See, my dad was under no illusions that the company that had fired him wasn't going to just make those patented lockers on their own. He also knew that though the company itself was relatively small, the owners had money, and there was no way he could fight them. However, a larger company could. So he contacted the major competitors and made them an offer. He eventually set up a meeting with some people, wheeled out the prototype he'd made, explained how everything worked, and noted that with this system, the company could revolutionize the way lockers were both designed and improve both safety and security. What's more, as he was the only patent holder, for the next 7 years or so, that company could be the only company to produce them. The competitor jumped at the chance and bought all patents for both the design and the process. They even paid my dad a substantial consultancy fee to go out to their manufacturing site and teach their crews how to make the needed tool and die sets to produce them. Less than 6 months after the first company had fired him, their #1 competitor was completely destroying them in the market with this new design. And there wasn't a damn thing the first company could do about it. They did try suing my father, claiming he had stolen their intellectual property. But that case quickly evaporated when they had to admit under oath that they'd never actually signed a contract with him, and there was no requirement that he turn over anything he created to the company. In the 7 years from when the company bought the locker design and process patents, they pretty handily moved into markets that previously they'd been unable to. The first company soldiered on, but by the time the patent had finally expired, they were a shadow of their former selves. The new owners had sold the company at a loss, with a competitor buying it, only to shut that production facility down due to redundancy, put maybe 200 people out of work. Though given how they'd lost so much business, I wager that it was far less than that. So yeah, the new guys don't want to play ball, threaten the guy that holds the patents on something they want to do, and then fire him only to have him take everything to their competitor and effectively put them out of business. Edit to answer some of the questions that have arose. 1. You don't know what his degree level was? My father and I had a difficult relationship. There are very few good memories I have of him, and it wasn't until shortly before his death in 2007 from a stroke that I really started to connect with him. I resented him for most all of my life because he was more career-minded than anything. I figure we moved some 10 times in 20 years, and it greatly affected me. For a rather long period of time, I am ashamed to say I hated my father and wanted nothing to do with him. 2. You must have ended up wealthy. Not really. Any money that my dad earned off his little endeavor was lost after an incident that left him disabled. Medical bills being what they are, by the end of it, we were pretty much broke. 3. Patents last 20 years. Design patents don't. They last 14, but the courts have historically sided with companies infringing on design patents after 7 years, so long as the infringing company develops their own method to produce whatever design is being used, and modifies or changes it. 4. What company was this? You know I can't tell you that. 5. Any variation of, how did the new owners not know? That answer is pure speculation on my part. However, I got the impression that the owners were in their mid to late 20s and trying to act like investors. The company was on offer relatively cheap from what I know, but I had a rather long history in the manufacturing field. That's a cool story. My 8th grade, pre-algebra teacher, whom I obviously had a crush on. Her husband actually manufactured lockers for our school, and they were really cool lockers. Like, they did not tip over no matter what. Like, he was a huge dude, like over 6 feet, well over 200 pounds, muscular, and he like grabbed onto one of the locker doors and just like hung on it, and it didn't budge at all. It was pretty cool. This story's called Long-Term Implications. Participants' names have been changed. Me, the anti-hero. Timmy, the villain. Chuck, my accomplice. Carl, former friend.
Kylie,
Female interest.
Gianna,
Usage material. This goes back 18-ish years. Senior year of high school. I had a friend named Carl, who I regularly went to church with and hung out with at high school. He introduced me to a kid a grade below us named Timmy. Now, Timmy was a fat guy with a short fuse and generally universally hated for being an arrogant yet dumb guy. You know the type. Everyone hates him, but he thinks he's cool and part of the popular crowd, but socially oblivious. Kinda like a fat virgin version of Stifler from American Pie, or maybe Jonah Hill from Superbad. Now, through Carl and the church, I met this pretty little thing named Kylie. I was young and naive, but I developed a crush on her after hanging with her and Carl so often. But I was very shy around her. Carl knew I liked her. What I didn't know was that Timmy liked her too. Fast forward a few months and it's time for the prom. I tell Carl I was planning on asking Kylie out. He encourages me to do so. Good friend. He then tells Timmy what I'm about to do. Bad friend. Timmy decides to sabotage me and hopes to get with Kylie and go to prom with her. He tells her that the reason I'm so shy around her is that I've been quietly collecting her hair and making it into a little dolly that I masturbate to. So when I went to ask Kylie out, she immediately rejects me very publicly and warns me she'll call the cops if I'm ever near her again. I'm crushed and humiliated. I ask Carl about Kylie's sudden views on me. He tells me what Timmy did. I miss out on prom, and Carl gets distant with me. I run into Carl at church a week later, and I ask him how prom went. He tells me that Kylie rejected Timmy and that he went to prom with her. He then told me it was just as friends, but now they were sorta dating. Me and Carl get into an argument, then a physical fight at church, and I'm physically thrown out of the church. Okay, moving on. It's my second semester of my first year of college. I'm still kinda pissed at what Timmy and Carl did. More so with Timmy than anyone else. I'm in business law class and there's this girl named Gianna sitting in front of me. Gianna is gorgeous. Gianna is Italian. Timmy is Italian, and Timmy likes Italian women. I have something here. I begin to talk to my friend Chuck about what I think I can do. He agrees. I find Gianna on MySpace and start copying her photos. I create a fake MySpace profile using her photos. I start adding friends of Timmy, and I have this whole elaborate page set up. Looks authentic. I even set up an AIM username. Lay the bait. Timmy eventually adds Gianna to his friends list. Then comes the heavy flirting through AIM. Timmy starts telling Gianna all of his darkest fantasies as she flirts with him. He starts revealing the stuff she'd be allowed to do to him in the bedroom. She even makes suggestions which he agrees to. He then grants Gianna access to his secretive live journal. His live journal where he talks smack about people at school. Jocks, cheerleaders, popular kids, teachers, principal. He says he'll beat up people on the football team, that he wants to bang the queen of the hot girls, that the girls' softball team is worthless, that all the jocks are stupid. All his little secrets are revealed to Gianna. What Timmy doesn't know is that Gianna is copying and pasting all of this, every chat, every live journal entry, etc., into a Word file. And this goes on for the entire year, until the very last day of high school for Timmy. See, Chuck and I printed the Word file and went to the local library and made 6 additional copies. Each copy was like 80 pages of Timmy's confessions, so a total of 7 copies. Chuck also happens to be in the same grade as Timmy. So that night, we stuff Chuck's backpack full of copies, and I give Chuck specific instructions to drop off the copies around school during the morning after first class. Then to come by my friend Tony's house before the final bell rings. See, Tony lived behind the school parking lot, so he expected to see fireworks once the seniors were let out. Chuck comes by, and me and Tony are having beers by his pool, and I hand him a beer, and we're all watching the school doors. Final bell rings. Timmy is the first one out the gate, full throttle running, crying, beat up. Jocks of all types are chasing after him, threatening to kill him. The hot girls are calling him gay and fat, and some are even chasing after him. There has to be about a herd of 50 people chasing after him. Something out of Black Friday at Walmart or a zombie movie. He's running to his car, he gets to his car, the jocks are jumping onto his car and punching and cracking the windows. He's trying to plow through the crowd. You can see he's crying, blood covering his face as he turns the corner. There are still jocks hanging onto the hood trying to punch through. He speeds off down the road, lose visibility of him. Me and Tony and Chuck are dying laughing watching this all unfold. I ran into Carl about 10 years later at a bar. He says, "I know what you did to Timmy. You know you ruined his reputation, right? Whenever people look him up, he's on a website dedicated to exposing creeps. He's been in therapy for years. His photography business could never get off the ground because of what you did to him. He's still living at home because of you." I sat there with my beer and took a swig and replied, "I simply don't know what you're talking about. I haven't spoken to Timmy since high school, but whatever the case may be, I don't care." He made poor choices in life, it seems. Okay, that was definitely not ProRevenge. That was 100% nuclear. Because, yeah, Timmy was a jerk and everything, but dang, his life is just ruined. This story's called Don't Scam a Bot Developer. Hello, this is my first ever post here, and it might not be the best, but just thought I'd share. I develop bots for people on Discord, a chat platform for those who somehow don't know. One day, I checked for hiring in a developer server and saw a job of making a simple bot for a cafe group. I messaged the owner and got the job. I coded the bot the next day and waited for a response from the owner. It turns out that the owner was taking a break from Discord. So about a week later, when she was finally back, she DM'd me and I fixed the final bug and showed them the bot. Right away, they said, "Thank you for the bot, have a great day," took away my admin role in the server and blocked me. However, it didn't occur to her that I might be able to give myself admin with the bot. I immediately set the permissions that everyone gets on join to administrator. I am an admin in a bigger Discord server with about 300 members. I mentioned everyone and told them to join this server, and of course, they noticed they have admin. Within 10 minutes, the server is completely destroyed. I haven't seen their reaction since I left the server, but I bet they will never scam anyone ever again. Edit! I wasn't clear about the fact that I was not paid, for those who didn't figure that out. Also, thanks so much for all the support. This is by far my most popular post ever, so thank you so much. You guys want to know something kind of funny? I actually saw this story as soon as it was posted, and it didn't have like any upvotes, literally none. And now it's got like 8,000, and it was posted yesterday as of time of recording, which is August 11th. Oh, also, really cool story. I'm sorry. This story's called, It Appears We Are at an Impasse. I love my husband, I really do, but he's a downright slob. He leaves his socks, clothing, shoes, dishes, etc. everywhere, and I have to clean up after him. After begging him for 2 years to not get a dog, he brought home a rescue. Guess who takes care of it? We now have had this dog for 1.5 years, and I love him to death. Anywho, we decided I do all housework, he vacuums. I've begged him for months to pick up his crap. He refuses. So the dog got spoiled. Every day I give the dog a bone or a squeak toy for him to annihilate in the living room, on the carpet. It's been 3 weeks of this. And let me tell you, that American Stafford sure tears up crap like no other. Cotton confetti and bone fragments everywhere. The carpet looks like a fluffy cloud, and if you're lucky, you'll scream in excitement when you step on some random crap hidden underneath it that this dog has gracefully destroyed. Husband finally looked me dead in the face, pissed as hell, and says, "You know I have to clean this up, right?" I laughed and said, "Well, I have to clean all your crap, so I'm just distributing unnecessary messes evenly so we can both waste our time together." It's been a week and he's finally cleaning up his crap. Screw you, sir. Isn't marriage beautiful? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.